Hello, everyone. We are here today with some very special guests, the onlys, Hoodzpah Design. And we're here with Amy and Jen. It's going to be a great time. Stick around if you want to learn all about branding, a little bit about business, and we're even going to get into some programs, show you some hot tips about how you can work more efficiently with your clients. So let's bring them in. I feel like I need the curtain and like the band walk-in music for you. Hello, Amy and Jen. How are you?
How are you? Hello.
Hi.
No millennial pause for you, by the way. Like he barely said you're live, and then you were like, "Oh,
It's
hi."
true. It's like screwing my face on. The second somebody says live, I just start talking, regardless of where I am. Just catch me in Chipotle. So
So funny.
let's
Camera
go
ready.
ahead. Where's everyone watching from? First of all, let us know in the chat. I want to do some call outs. Hi, Patrick, Hannah. We have lots of friends in the chat. Teresa over on YouTube. Nice to see you. So I am in Riverside, California. Where are you?
And we're in Orange County. We're the Southern California contingent.
Yeah.
Holding
Yes,
it
OC.
down.
That's it.
Yep.
Okay, so where are you is great. Let's jump back to who are you? Tell us a little bit about Hoodzpah Design. Tell us a little bit about Amy and Jen, and maybe let's take a look at some of your work. And our moderator today is Cody Bear. Cody, if you can drop the link in the chat, that would be great. It also is down below us if you want to see more work. But take it away. Give us the rundown.
Well, first of all, our name is Hoodzpah, but if you saw Hannah Smith in the chat, she said hoopla because recently I referred something to Hannah and them at Trust. They're amazing crew, by the way. And the person who talked to us was like, "Oh, hoopla referred us to you or whatever." Anyways, Hoodzpah, also known as hoopla, and we do brand identity, illustration, type design, stuff like that. And yeah, we've been doing it for about 13 years since. Is that it? 11? We've been
12.
doing 12. I don't know. We've been doing it since 2011. You do the math. That's not what I'm paid to do. And yeah, here's some of our work we've worked with. I mean, Industrial Light and Magic is our banner project as of right now.
And SeatGeek. Oh, that was so fun.
SeatGeek, Nicoletto's
Oh,
packaging.
good type. Just we've had so
Good
many fun
type.
clients over the years in
Yeah.
a lot of different industries, but
Yeah.
brand identity, that's our game.
That's our game.
And then you might have noticed that our fonts are now on Adobe fonts. So if you like,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
we have some retro funky numbers, a lot of scripts on there. I know it's really hard to find good scripts, so definitely check us out. Hoodzpah, you just search it in Adobe fonts and the algorithm will do the rest.
Yes, and they're all there. They all are included in your Creative Cloud membership. And something that I did want to point out, I went to go see Mean Girls, and there was a moment in Mean Girls where like the competition was sponsored by SeatGeek, and they like put the thing up, and I was like, and I got so stoked that you were in Mean Girls, and I was like, honestly, like Hollywood stars,
I mean, we've made it the full
Truly.
gamut now. Yeah.
Oh
full
man, if our
gamut.
font is used anywhere in like any film or TV, I'm like, we were part of it. Good job, team. Everyone worked really hard on
Yeah,
this.
on the crew, call me for the wrap up party. Let's do
Exactly.
it.
100%. I'm like, when are we
Um,
doing the red carpet? Let me know.
Yeah. Okay. So I put a poll in chat for the chat to kind of vote on where we take this conversation. We're going to be talking, hanging out about a lot of things. I love talking with you because you do so many things and there's so many different angles that we can talk about. And I want to make sure, chat, you get what you want. So if you're on Behance, come on over to YouTube. We just put a poll up. The moderator will drop the link in the chat. If you're on YouTube, vote right above, right to the left of me, that way. We wanted to vote to know, what do you want us to talk about today? We can talk about business, we can do some design tips, or we can talk about illustration. So go vote on your topic and we'll kind of steer the conversation that way. And while they vote, I think we have a hot tip right off the bat. Let's jump in and talk a little bit about your workflow. And I believe that we're using some like commenting review. You use a lot of clients. How do you work with your clients to get feedback?
Yeah, I mean, usually feedback is mostly between Jen and I first. Like that's like 80% of the feedback is us just being like, is this right? Does this look good? How's this? And it used to be just me texting Jen like 4 megabyte PNG screenshots of everything, and our iCloud was like coughing, it was dying. So I was like, we need like a better way to send each other just like proofs and works in progress and stuff. And so recently, actually, shout out to Claire who invited us onto this show. She was like, "Have you guys used the share comment and share that just was released in Illustrator?" And I'm like, "No, not yet." And let me tell you, I was kind of like, "It'll be okay." And then I tried it, and I was like, "This is awesome." When you share the link, so like if you jump into this is like some sticker sheet illustrations that we did for our client Happy Tooth. They're a children's dentistry in Salt Lake City, and we made these fun stickers. And like, say I need to ask Jen, like, how are these looking? How are the die lines?
Well, ask Andrew. Ask Andrew.
Oh, I'll ask Andrew.
Yeah, ask Andrew.
Say I'm like, Andrew, help me. I don't know if this looks good. I can just go up here to the top right in Adobe Illustrator and hit share.
Yep.
And then you just say create link, which I already did because I'm ahead of the game here.
Yep.
And it's usually right down here, bottom right. And then you can just copy it and text it to your friend, which I already texted it to Andrew. And then he can write comments. And then if I just go into window and then go to comments and pull that up and just kind of like pull that over here into my workflow, when he writes me comments, which he freaking did, can we make this a question mark instead of a exclamation point? It updates automatically in here. Like, it's just so handy. And he can add little like pins so that I know exactly what he's talking about. Like, he's like, can we make these blue instead of red? It's just so handy instead of like sending a million screenshots and clogging up your text feed. So I've definitely been using that recently this week, and I love it.
It's a really great tip, and you can use pins. You can also use drawings, and you can see there that we have like the blue circle. You can also change the color. And so as you watch their screen, like, we don't even just need to show you my screen because it is completely seamless and it overlays into Illustrator, which is really cool. And so you'll see there, it will pop up in just a second.
It's very like Figma collaboration, which I love, which is I think what everyone is loving.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's so
and
awesome.
I like that you don't have to export as a PDF, and like, it's just in the file. And then if you want to like update the link for others, like the link stays the same. You just have to go into the share button and you just say update content.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you're not like, oh crap, do I need to send them a new link? Will it update? Will they see? Like, and also you can kind of like gatekeep until you're ready for them to see those changes, you know?
Yep. And what's really great too is you can collaborate there back and forth. That they could comment and say like, hey, I don't want it to be a question mark because it needs to be an exclamation. I'd be like, okay, great. And then you can mark it as resolved so that you can resolve a comment if it's there. And you can see up at the top, there's a red line now. So if you want to categorize by different colors, meaning different things, there's a lot of functionality here to do feedback. Really great tool. And again, it's just that blue button that floats up there, and it is available in Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign, called Share for You.
Yeah, Kate asked a great question. Can non-Adobe use this? And they can. So you could totally send it to a client if you're wanting to do like just quick feedback and you don't want to keep it in your email. Like, I still do like any kind of like official feedback in my email. But if it's just like kind of like the end of everything's basically approved, it's just like nitpicking colors and like things like that, I for sure will use comments with clients.
Yep. And Colleen, fantastic question. Can recipients see the messy stuff around the artboard? No, it will only show the artboard, which is so good.
That's amazing.
So
okay,
helpful.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Colleen, props for asking that, because I didn't know.
Yes, it will only show the
where
artboard.
the mayhem is. The artboards is where mayhem, and you don't want them seeing the workups that you didn't like, and then they like that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's protection right there.
Yes. And chat, thank you so much for all these questions. Y'all are asking great questions. And here's the deal. I have a list of questions, I think, for us to talk about. We don't have to do any of that. If you keep having great questions, we can talk about that the whole time. We're here for you. And on Adobe Live, we always want to bring you top creatives and give you a little insight to their work. But until I see another great question, let's hop in and let's talk a little bit about Hoodzpah, a little bit about the origins and the beginning. I think people always want to know, where did you come from, right? We're at Industrial Light and Magic doing these gigantic projects, all the secrets that we don't know about. Where did we start here?
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. We're celebrating 12 years, which is like insane to me, because it's like, that's like half my life. It's just, well, close. I'm not in my 20s. That is a bit.
Well, it's crazy you've been doing this for half of your life.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well,
Amy's PR team's working on overtime.
Media training.
Media training.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, no, we have been doodling since a young age. But yeah, it started like a lot of people. We just like to illustrate and doodle first, and then we realized what design was, and then we started kind of like getting more specialized in brand identity. But
I think our story is very similar to some people. Like last year and this year, we were laid off, and we literally could not get a job. Nobody would hire us. I think a lot of people have experienced that, where you're like, I know I can do good work, but my previous job didn't really give me fun, exciting projects. It was kind of like, maybe more production style work, or just like not glamorous, or just like not the kind of work I want to do. And so I think we just were like, well, we need a job. We need money. We need income for rent. So we just started doing our own thing. We're like, well, freelance. We always wanted to do our own thing. We always wanted to start our own company. And so it just kind of was like necessity.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And I think a lot of people are doing that now too, is just like starting to freelance to see if they like it in between things.
Yeah.
And then you'll find out pretty quickly, like, wow, this is like, I love doing this. I love working for myself. I love like interacting with all the clients.
And I think we're realizing now that even though we thought in working in-house for someone else was more reliable and stable, and you know, as a job security kind of thing, we're realizing like these are uncertain times. And I kind of like the idea that we have control over our business and I know what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be blindsided with, oh, by the way, we're not making any money. And so we're going to lay off all of our creative department, you know, so we kind of have a handle on things, but it could be hard. Those first 3 years, you have no work-life balance. That's not a thing when you run your own studio at first, because you're just trying to get the momentum going so that you can eventually have work-life balance. And so, yeah, I don't know.
Yes. We have a great question from chat on that. And chat, you are voting. Thank you so much for your votes. It looks like we want to take a look at business and then some design tips and then talk a little bit illustration at the end. But a great question kind of out of that conversation from Nicholas Phillips over in the YouTube chat. How is a transition being a freelancer into creating an agency, or like how has it transitioned from small businesses, local clients into working with these like behemoths like Industrial Light and Magic?
Yeah. I mean, I think definitely, I remember there being a really specific time in our career where we were about like 4 to 5 years in. We were working with all our friends. It was a blast. But I think you start to realize, wow, if I'm ever going to build up a savings, like I need to start getting bigger clients. And so we were like, you know, all of our work is like very fun. It was very like t-shirts and tour posters and like surfboards and, you know, like all the fun stuff, but stuff that doesn't necessarily pay amazing because it's other small businesses, right? So it's like, how do we go after those medium-sized clients and how do we show that we can do the restrained work that's still fun and still like exciting? So I think we really took it upon ourselves to really adjust how we presented ourselves. It was a lot less of like me and Jen's face up front and us kind of like doing our fun little behind the scenes videos. We still did some of that, but I think we were just really trying to show a more professional foot. And we really had to make like a big transition for a minute. And we really had to be careful about what we showed on our site too, because whatever you're showing on your site, you're going to get more of that style work. So we took off all the t-shirt designs. We hated doing t-shirt designs. It was so hard. It took us forever. And so we're like, we're not doing that anymore. We're not doing Squarespace sites. Like that's just not what we're good at.
And then we started padding all of our new scopes to include a lot more of like a brand identity package instead of just one-off logos. So I think, again, we were just reframing the context that we were showing our work in to make it look like much bigger projects. Even if the client wasn't paying for it, we're like, our gift to you, collateral, brand guidelines. It's like if they weren't, and we tried scoping it up and people wouldn't pay for it. So we started just gifting it. And then the new clients that came in didn't know that that was a thing, and it was just they started paying for it because they saw that it was
they saw the value.
Or we would just upsell it like 10%, you know what I mean, like just something
that's such a great strategy to create work for your portfolio, because again, you said like whatever you're showing is what you're going to get hired for. Is show stuff that's like, oh, this isn't for that client, this is for me for the next client. Like I have this idea that the client is definitely going to say no to, but I think it's a rad idea that someone else might be interested in. Let's put it in the case study. And then someone sees that and thinks that it's just a part of the package, and we up the price for that package. And now everybody wins.
That's been our, go ahead.
No, you go.
So our strategy has always been gifting things that we want to do that no one will pay for. So logo animation.
But we know we'll make the project sing and we'll make people really excited about it.
So we started gifting our gift to you, and it also makes a proposal so scintillating because people are like, free? Yes, please. So we always gift logo animations. Was for like the 6 months we would gift logo animations because I have a great animator, and I would just kind of like
shout out to Ethan Silva
about the studio.
Yes, I literally have his Instagram open because I was like, I know that we're gonna do a shout out at some point,
but we're gonna talk about it.
Bad Lucky Studio, go check them out.
Bad Lucky Studio, yep. And so we started rolling that in as a gift, and then people would see it on our portfolio and start asking for it again. And then
I think it's one of those things where you're like, I don't need that. I think a lot of clients are always like trying to make sure their scope is like really trim and they don't want to pay too much. And they, is it really that worthwhile? Will we really use it? And it's like, when they see it used for everybody else, they're like, oh, I want that. Yeah, no, it really does make the difference, you know? So,
and then for big projects, what helped us really start presenting we gifted a certain client a launch video. And again, they didn't think they would need it or want it, but then like it made it like sing by the end of it. And now I think we'll be getting more of that too when we scope it out. So,
sure.
But there's no really easy answer way from like, how do you get to the big stuff, except you have to kind of keep intentionally going after new clients and not just letting referrals keep you in the same loop of similar work that you've always been doing.
Yep.
And it's sometimes also just like, you know, we got invited to a lot of conferences, and Andrew, I know you're like a big conference guy, but it's like getting out there and meeting new people and like really just like kind of getting to know the creative community and making new relationships, you know, outside of just like LinkedIn or cold email. I think that was a huge part too, is just like making friends at these conferences in a very personal way. And then it's like, wow, this would be fun to work together, you know, and keeping each other's info. I think that was like also a really big thing.
Yeah.
Yes. And talking about the biggest softball for a transition ever. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about collaborating a little bit, because you collaborate with your clients, but you also collaborate a lot with the community. And I have a little throwback here. This is a zine that happened a while ago that you worked on for Red Bull, the magazine, the Red Bulletin. And inside is a ton of work by a ton of friends. And so let's see, let's get this more centered. There we go. So ton of work, ton of friends, really gorgeous stuff here. And I want to talk a little bit about collaboration. And we showed some of the tools that we do, but when you're working with clients, when you're working with friends, how does that differ from creating things yourself to like helping other people create with you? Has that been a transition for you, or has it been something you're like, oh, we always want to work with people, or is like, oh, it's different if I'm doing it versus someone else doing it and me helping them do it?
Oh, it's way different. But I think there's more risk, honestly, because you don't have control, but it's also, there's a much greater potential for reward
100%.
because there's a lot of people who can do things that you can't do. But my only piece of advice would be to test subcontractors and friends on smaller risk jobs first and see how you all work together, because you don't want to wait until that amazing project comes in and then risk it, because you really don't know what people how they'll handle like pressure and, you know, things like that. So these were all people that we knew and had worked with before, which was great. Well, not all of them, a few of them were new, but anyways, it was worth it. We wanted to get a lot of different artists in, but I think at the beginning, you just have to be a lot more smarter with your quote, because, you know,
and your deadlines.
Yeah. Cause you can't, when you just work with yourself, if you mess up a quote, it's like the only one hurt at the end is you, and you're not like, you know, you're not hurting your friends or things like that. But we obviously had to make sure there was enough room in it for everyone to get paid properly and like really have a good, you know,
experience,
a good experience. Exactly. And so that was it. First is getting the quote right. And then, working with collaborators is just, you have to be so organized, and you have to honestly just be good with feedback, which I always find you just got to be very positive and thankful for the effort, but then you just have to be very clear and honest about feedback as well.
Yeah, that's how you get the best.
That's how you get out of the best of it. But luckily, that one specifically, all those people were targeted to work on it because the client loved their own art style. So it's like they're doing their style, which is the best feeling, I think, is when it's like, you do you. Then again, some people say that and then they don't like it. So
yes,
I don't know
exactly.
how to help those people.
Yeah.
But
and speaking about doing you and having your own style, Hoodzpah Design has their own style. And I feel like I've watched this evolution throughout the years, and chat, maybe some of you have seen it as well, that we've landed into kind of this curated palette that, like, as fonts are releasing, as we see more illustrations, there's a color palette, there's a tone, there's a vibe, there's the type that we're using. Is that something that's been intentional to kind of pull in the brand and create this identity for yourselves? And what's that process been like? And how do you implement that? How do you stay on brand for this idea of Hoodzpah?
Yeah, that's like
it's hard.
That's the grand question. And I think it's one of those things where people started being like, oh, we love the Hoodzpah style. And we were like, whoa, what is the Hoodzpah style?
Yeah,
like,
tell me more about our thing.
What is it? And how do you feel about it? And how would you describe it? But I do think it just comes with like just practice, and you kind of are just kind of like honing in, like, what are people responding to? What do I like to do? What kind of sings for my voice? But I'll tell you what, the best thing we ever did was treating ourselves like a client and putting together our own freaking brand colors
and brand guidelines,
brand fonts, because just having to reinvent the wheel for every newsletter, every social media post, every time you're trying to promote yourself, which is already a slag, like it's already annoying. So it's like just having those things ready to go and having a couple templates ready was like, oh, what a relief.
I think slag and slog are different.
Oops. I think we used to British.
Wait, I think Kate Lesnowich, I think she's from England. Tell me slag. I think that's like a hussy, a trollop. Right?
Close.
And slog is like
Yes. Oh yeah. No, no, no. Yeah, that's it. It's all right.
Oh, but
Everybody gets one.
Daryl had a good question. He said, "Does it get easier working with these big, high-profile projects the more you do them?
Yes.
Like, for example, like
Yes.
Disney." And it's interesting, yes and no, because with Disney, we work with different people each time. And when you work with different people, obviously each interaction is going to be different, but also the directors change, and the goals change. And I think it's fascinating with movies. There's so many people involved that it's like getting a mob to do a group choreography together and it looking good. Like, it's just so amazing that anything comes out of it. But they always do an amazing job. They're always very positive, but it doesn't get easier. I think the stress is always high, but I think the only thing that you have that's you can lean back on the more you do projects and the more you work for yourself in general is having the healthy routine of knowing how to get through stressful situations and just learning to push through despite it and just trust the process yourself. We always tell clients to trust the process, but I find me and Amy are so bad about the night before just panicking and then like, you didn't do this. Well, we should have done that. And, it's like, why don't we trust the process, And then same thing, we'll tell our clients, you're not going to like it at first. Like, nobody likes it at first. And then they don't like it. And we're like, how dare they not like this at first?
Right.
But I think like part of it is just learning,
reminding yourself of the lessons. Yeah.
Reminding yourself that they're not going to like it. It's not going to be perfect. That's why you have revision. That's why you have rounds of, changes, and just us accepting that as much as teaching them to accept that.
It's just so hard. It's like, you want them to just respond with, oh, this is so great. This is so close to what I wanted. And a lot of people like just won't. You have to be like, it's better to go in thinking they may not like this and that's okay. We have 2 rounds of revisions to finalize, instead of being like, they're going to love this. It's going to be amazing. And then, being kind of let down and having the wind taken out of your sails, I think. But,
yeah. Okay, let's hop in to Illustrator a little bit. And I would love to see if we can show some of the systems you have set up for the like Hoodzpah vibes. Because I know that there are probably some libraries, there's some color swatches that we use. How do we stay on brand? And
you go into our Figma file for our website.
Oh, no.
Yes. No. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
We tried. It's okay. Everybody gets 2.
No, I was going to say, yeah, we have our libraries saved in Adobe libraries because I like to just have it like easy access. I also save our palettes as like ASE. So yeah, let me just open up like a file of like somewhere where I would be in, like say we just finished, like this is a project we worked on for Good Type, and I'll just close all that.
Good Type.
Good Type. Shout out to Good Type.
Shout out.
And they were so amazing to work with. We used Adobe fonts. You can see here we've got Griffith. Yeah, Griffith. Or this is ours. This is Venice. Yeah, that's also on Adobe fonts. But
how often does that happen that you see something and you're like, oh my gosh, I love that, and you're like, oh, that's mine. Okay, that's why I like it so much.
It's like because I knew what font they ended up using, so I'm like, Griffith. It's Griffith, right? No, it's mine. It's like, okay, anyway. But so like say I'm like, oh, I want to share this on Instagram. Like I want to get this in kind of like a frame or using our colors, our brand colors or something like that. Just kind of make it look cool. I have like, I'll just open up libraries and I will just go into, you can see I have a folder called Hoodzpah Branding. And in that I have like all of our colors in RGB. I also have one for CMYK. I have social icons. So I can, the thing that I hate the most, the thing that used to drive me insane when we were doing social shareables is having to find the icons over and over again. So just saving anything that you need to use. We've got our Hoodzpah logos in white, reverse, and black. We've got our freelance and business and stuff course logos. We've got like every logo you could ever need with text, without text, you know?
Pull the library up
and let me just pull it out here
in the corner.
And I love that. And chat, let me know if you are in this era of design that like anytime you needed an icon or a logo from something, you like 100% were getting a virus with it. Like it was never from an official website. It was always like I have to navigate the pop-ups and like I'm just trying to get the Facebook logo, but like why are there 90 things downloading right now? There was a good era where nothing existed.
Oh my gosh, it's so true.
It's so true.
So yeah, so having it all here and just like ready to go, and they're actually like, SVG or, EPS files is so great. And then I also have little things like little patterns that I like to use a lot. Like I made my own dot patterns, like some halftone grids for us to use in different things, but just having them all here is so handy, and you can group them. You can see I've grouped them really easily. So I can like, if I'm not using certain things, I can do that. And then like, I also have a little, let's see if I can move this. I also have like, I can just open up our library. I have that saved here. I have it in user defined or, oh, it's weird. It's not there.
It could be
other library. There we go. And then you can just kind of pull it up this way too. So let's see, Hoodzpah
But sometimes, I mean, we'll do this for clients too. I know we have the good type open.
Yeah.
So we'll create a library for them once they're done, if
For
they're
sure.
using Adobe products, and we'll deliver and, share it with them. But it's
Yep.
also handy for us if we're doing ongoing brand work for a client. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, we always save a library, even if they don't really use it because they don't have an in-house designer. If we're going to be working in it constantly, it's good to have one ready.
And you can see them all here. I've got Happy Tooth in here. I've got all their colors ready. I've got Nicoletto's in here. 100 my library is mislabeled. But
That seems to be we have grand intentions of like what we want the libraries to be, and then it ends up that it's just pure chaos. This is a hot topic in the past. Okay, Hoodzpah Design. Are we team build it and see what happens, or are we team name our layers?
Oh man, I'm like, I wish I could open a file for you that I've got going now, because I'm very much organized in the layers, because I'm trying to export a lot of things on the same artboard with like different variations. So I'm all about groups, layers, naming things so I can remember separating things out onto layers so I can turn them on and off. I'm all about that. But I also don't work in like Photoshop very often. If I was in Photoshop, no, I don't know if I would. Although I wonder if we can share. We can't share Belmontes, can we? But yeah, even in Photoshop for mockups, like that's where I keep, like, I'll have one master PSD mockup, and then I'll have like, the live object, the smart object. And then within that, I have groups of like round 1 mockup proofs, round 2 mockup proofs, and then all the way up to the final. And I just turn them on and off as I need. So I don't have like, 8 different PSD mockups taking up room on my hard drive. So yes,
Yep.
I think the answer is yes. I thought it was no, but it's yes.
And a couple questions
I don't
coming
name
in.
mine.
From a couple questions from chat. One is saying, "What's an ASE file?" It's a great question.
Oh, Andrew, what does it actually stand for?
Adobe Swatch.
Adobe Swatch Export.
Okay.
I made that up, so I'm gonna Google it right now and pretend like I knew. But talk about, what do ASEs do?
Oh, this is great. Like, so I have the library here for me and my team so that anybody, whether it's me, Jen, Arturo, or B, can open these up and, work on the client projects. But when we're delivering to clients, usually within their assets that we deliver, we'll deliver final logo files, and then we'll deliver an AI with all of the colors kind of like laid out nicely if they prefer that.
An Illustrator file.
In an Illustrator file. But then we'll also deliver these palettes, which it's so easy to make. So like, say, for example, actually I already have it here. So on my swatch panel to the right here, I'll close this for now. You can see I have my good type colors here. I've got them all ready in a folder. And so like, say I want to deliver those to the client, they've, approved everything. I can just delete everything else in this file by just group selecting and saying, yep, delete. Yep. I always delete these bottom ones. I don't like them. Love you, Adobe, but I don't like these. And I don't want them to, so I don't want them to use them, but I keep the top ones. Those are handy, but I'll usually like delete that and just get the basics. And then what I can do is just go to this top right 3 hamburger icon. And then you can just go, let's see. Oh wait, how do I export it again?
I ran into this the other day too, and there was a specific how did we do it?
Yeah, what happened?
Oh, there was, didn't you see her?
No, I have to export.
Save swatch library as ASE.
Oh, there we go.
There it is.
Save swatch library as ASE. It's so weird when you try to show someone how to do Sling.
Pretty much before libraries, this was the way that a file that people could just load into, Illustrator or Adobe programs to launch the saved color palette. So they didn't have to create the color palette. But now that there's libraries, you can do it that way.
Adobe Swatch Exchange is the ASE.
And you can see I already have the good type ASE in here. So yeah, we deliver that for sure.
And Lisam is asking, can you do that in Photoshop with libraries? Yes, libraries work Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, Adobe Express, and probably some other places. So libraries are a little bit of everywhere. And I do want to ask a question that's going to kind of shift us a little bit. Is people are asking a lot about Fabus. What is Fabus? Why are people commenting that in chat? How can people get involved with that? What is
there a cure?
Is there a cure for Fabus?
It's catching. It is. You got to be careful if you get too close.
It's the season. It's the season. Yeah.
It's the season. So pretty much it stands for freelance and business and stuff. And it started as the book that we wrote, and then we turned it into a course with a Slack. And really, I'd say it's mostly a Slack with a course on the side, because most people join and then we just have a ball in the Slack, which is
all of our digital coworkers. Because freelancing or having a small studio or just like a remote studio can be really like isolating. So Natasha Priya's in here, Hannah Smith, there's Davis, like Doc Reed, there's so many people from Yeah, there's so many people from the course in here, and we're literally each other's coworkers.
Kate,
and
listen with you.
yeah, and just you can give each other feedback. We help each other with business questions. I feel like if you're going to freelance, definitely find your freelance peeps, like
Your
someone you can
community.
text, someone you can have a little Slack with, where you can like get feedback and just like help each other. Because
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so fun.
it makes work so much more fun.
Yes.
We have a chat with Andrew, a group text called the Hood Rattle, and
Hood rattle.
we need to use it more. Honestly, we used to use it quite frequently when we were all on the conference circuit.
It's true. We crossed paths for quite a few years, and we haven't crossed paths in a while. Hopefully it happens at some point.
Yes.
Are you doing any
Totally.
conferences this year? Let's talk about that.
I don't think so, no.
Are you going to do Creative South?
I am. Creative South is coming up in April. It's shameless plug. If you want to check it out, creativesouth.com.
Do it.
Yes, it'll be happening in April. We've got CropCon coming up.
Those are two really great ones. Creative Works,
yes.
that one's so fun.
Yep.
There's so many good ones.
Tons of stuff coming up. Go to a creative conference. That's how you meet people. That's actually how we met. Amy and Jen used to do an event called Connecting Things, and it was down in my local area-ish. And I tweeted out who's going. I found someone who lived by me who was going, and I got in a car with a stranger and went to the meetup with all the other strangers. And they invited me to do my first speaking gig. It was something that like really started out my career, ended me up here. So thank you for that. But the fact of the matter being, go to conferences, go to meetups, go to events, get connected with your community, chat
It's
here
so
on Adobe
true.
Live, like get involved with some kind of
Adobe Live
community.
included. Absolutely. Like the people in this chat keep track, follow each other on Twitter. Like these are people that you can collaborate with. And and even just like once you meet these people, once you make these friends, don't be afraid to like verbalize your goals and like what you're trying to do, because I feel like that's also a big thing, is just like saying out loud what you're trying to do. And a lot of times your friends will have like the connections. The connections, or like the helpful hints on like, oh, have you tried this? And I can't tell you how many times that's resulted in something really cool.
Yeah.
So we do have someone in chat asking a great question, going back into business. In chat, again, I have a list of questions. We're like 3 into like 20. You keep asking questions, and it makes my job a lot easier, and it makes the conversation more engaging. So a great question coming in from Ryan McQuaid. Do you have any advice on pivoting from one target audience to another? And I love how this conversation is swaying between business and design and showing tips and ASE and then going back to business. So we're going to circle back into how that all marries together. But I think this is a good transition question of how do you pivot from one target demographic and audience to another?
That is such a good question.
And do you have that? Have you done that? Because you do a lot of work, but it feels like it's starting to narrow into a specific audience or client base.
Yeah. I mean, I think kind of like, we had mentioned earlier, it's like, it did at least change from being more local friends, small business focused, very like
very artistic, almost like a lot of hand drawn,
a lot of heritage kind of feel, lots of badges, and
throw some grunge on it.
Yeah, there are a lot of texture,
We even did like sign painting. We did like pretty much like whatever you want. If it's creative, we'll do it for a while.
And then I think it's just a matter of considering clients you normally wouldn't work with, and like we had mentioned, like making work that can show you can do that audience work. That's literally like, I wish there was easier answers. I wish there was more specific things, but it's doing the passion projects, rethinking your website. Redoing our website was a huge one. That was
really big.
I realized that like, it wasn't so much our work, it was how we were showing our work. Like our old portfolios, like they started out as like one image with like barely a sentence, or like a gallery with no explanation. Even that juxtaposed with a case study that walks the user through, that literally like blows it out so granularly, like this is the text, this is why we chose the text, this is the color. Like a real good case study, I think, can even elevate work from being perceived as something that's like, oh, okay, like that wasn't very important, to like, wow, this was really important, and it's all context. So I think since we've already said like make the work you want to get, the second thing would be show it off. The thing that kills me is when I have friends that it's like, I want to refer them stuff, and I do refer them stuff, but I know the website is stopping them from getting work, because I know the client's lying or landing on their page and immediately going away because it's not showing the best side that it should. And at first it's hard, because when you're starting out and you're working for yourself, or you're trying to promote yourself, you're trying to be very cost conscious, and you're just hacking together little themes and stuff, and you can't really pay for it, or you think, you don't really have that budget. But as soon as you can invest in doing a more proper website that really shows off your skills, I think the better. Because
and if it's something that you hate doing, hire a friend or hire someone, find someone that can help you out with that, because it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. And get critiques from friends, because sometimes people are like, it's good, right? And then it's like 10 people are like, this looks weird.
This makes no sense. I didn't even know that you did graphic design from this website.
Yeah. And I find very common mistakes, not mistakes, but to me, it's like, if you're going to focus in on graphic design, I think if you're also an artist, those should be separate things. I think when someone goes to your site, and especially if you're a designer and someone's going to come to you for brand and corporate work, the minute they see you're an artist too, I'm sorry, it just muddles things, and it gives them this perspective that like you're
hot take.
You're two things, you're not one thing, right? So have an artist site that's separate, or link to it separately. But for your commercial work, I think you should always put the commercial work up front and speak to that audience immediately, rather than having them funnel. And the minute they see art and design, they just walk away. I hate to say it, people don't have time. They don't have patience. You've got to hit them with a great homepage immediately.
Yeah, I agree.
And these like gateway pages that lead you to the site where it's like see work, and it's just like an image and you have to click into the site. I hate those too. Take those away. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It's almost like a link in bio page.
Yeah. It's like, no, just straight to a killer homepage. Yeah.
Can we take a look at your website and kind of scroll in chat? Let me know if you can kind of pick out, what is the zone that Hoodzpah Design lands in for clients, for work? What is the site telling us? And maybe for Amy and Jen, when building this site, I know that there was like the little icons in the sides and the colors and the themes. It's all very curated. What was your approach to building this site and showing this work?
Yeah, I think it was just making everything feel really big and really important and really cinematic, right? It's
and pacing it.
Yes.
I think before we had a grid and there was a lot to look at once, and it wasn't giving each piece of work like a moment to be like, no one had the stage. It was just like 10 toddlers dancing, in a kindergarten like dance performance. And it's like, no, we need a soloist. And then, I don't know. It was just about pacing it, honestly. And we really took time at first to just do a lot of mock-ups, because we maybe the project didn't justify like a photography session. But lately we've been realizing the value of, even if the original project didn't scope photography, if we have overall profit that we can reinvest in ourselves to help us get better work, then we should invest in photography. Even if it doesn't make sense for that specific project, overall it makes sense, right? So
someone who does this really well is Kevin Rostrand and Rostrand Design.
Oh yeah,
go to their definitely site. Look them up, because I feel
you're
like
sharing right now.
Yeah.
And Trust Design, Hannah's in the house. They have a beautiful site. They do a great job. I think if you look up your like design heroes and look at their sites and find the really killer ones, you'll notice immediately like the difference between I think just bigger images, honestly, and more paced storytelling is huge.
And motion. I think if you can try to do simple motion, you can I even learned how to do just like simple like motion, just to like kind of jazz up a couple pages before like we found some great collaborators. But yeah, you can just see that like they've paced it so well. They have so many different graphics, and I think that's what you got to do, is just like make everything feel really special. Go just blow it out into as many mock-ups and real in use real life kind of scenarios too. I think when you just see like flat designs, you're like, okay.
Yeah, if it's just like literally like the Illustrator artboards exported with the logo on a flat color, it just doesn't sing as much as if it's on actual products or in an actual situation or context that people can imagine it. It makes it feel so much more real,
Yep.
Yeah,
and I think that there are times, and I see it in your work as well in the case studies, is that I need to put myself into the brand. I need to experience the project.
Yeah.
And so seeing it in context, seeing things like the building, seeing things like pasta noodles, it's like, I didn't design the pasta noodles, but they help tell the story. The case study is less about your work and more about the story of the business and how you have furthered that story. And so I love
100%.
the like pieces that you use to display the work help me understand the context of where this work lives.
That's totally it. You're trying to prove that what you made actually fits the vibe, especially if it's something different and kind of outside of the box, like Happy Tooth, right? It's like, if this was just a regular dentistry, you're like, oh, this isn't great. But if it's like, oh, it's a pediatric dentistry, oh, like the owner loves basketball, that's why they have a half court in the location, so it's like really explaining like who they were and like how this design fit the brief. I think that's so much of it. You're so right.
Yep.
Manual SF does a great job of that. I forget their site link, but Manual SF has great case studies. But yeah, I think websites are huge overlooked. I think a lot of people do the work and they wonder why they're not getting, and their website is just not showing it off. But
Yep.
someone asked a question about slipping into clients' DMs.
Yes, I was going to go there. Yes,
Danielle.
dealing with
Danielle.
clients. Yeah.
Hi, Danielle.
We're actually doing in our Fabus Slack, we did a challenge for January and February. Like, let's try to reach out to 15 dream clients and do cold emails. So it's like, shout out to everyone in the chat who's doing that right now with us. But yeah, it's absolutely important. And we've made a goal this year to do more of it, because so far we've luckily just had we've met great people at conferences and stuff, and we haven't done much of that. But we're like, this year we should go after people we really like still want to work with. And so we're absolutely doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it
not
happens.
so much the DMs, but
Yeah.
I'm doing it on Twitter. Yeah. I
Twitter.
followed a couple different people, and then we became mutuals. And then I just jumped in and said, hey, love your work, love what you're doing. Or, hey, love the brand, just played Ghost of Tsushima like all year. You know, I was like trying to reach out to PlayStation. You know, it's just kind of interesting, just making connections and seeing what happens.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I think that when you're doing that, showing the passion is way more important than like what the work actually is. Like, it's great to have good work, but when you're going after that dream client and sliding into DMs, like showing how passionate you are about that brand or the story that you have to tell that you can partner with them on, that is always so powerful, getting those dream clients. And with that kind of challenge, chat, I want to know, who are your dream clients? Who would you love to cold pitch? What DMs are you sliding into?
Yes.
Give us the tea about the clients that you want. And for Amy and Jen, what are your dream clients that we haven't had yet? Is there anything that is lingering?
We were
that you're
talking
like,
the
"Oh, I
other
want that so
day.
bad"?
A team would be so cool. Any sports team, because
we want to redesign the logo for like NFL, NBA, like one of the big, you know,
Major League
football,
Soccer,
whatever.
anything,
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
But
That's like on our bucket list, and it's been for like a couple
I
years.
just want to see it painted on turf. You know what I mean? Or
Yes.
embedded on hardwood. Like I
Yes.
don't know. Those are like, I think that would be so cool. And then another one. This is so pie in the sky, but you got to say it, right? It would be like a car brand. How
Or
cool would that be?
We were saying car or motorcycle, something where it's like just like anything automotive,
Mhm.
anything that's kind of like metal badge, like really considering. I just think that
I
would be
was
so
looking at someone's site the other day, and they had designed a new shoe brand. I was like, are we doing that still? Are there new shoe brands emerging?
I feel like Hoka came out of nowhere, so yeah, they're doing it.
I guess, but it just sounds weird because it was an athletic shoe, and you just don't think of like there's any more room in the market. But that's wrong. That's a wrong thought. Like, we should never think that way, that there's not room for our stuff, because that's not how progress works.
It's not.
But,
there's always
no.
something new, and you can create something new. The Hoodzpah shoe brand coming.
There we go.
Hoodzpah motorcycle.
Yeah, really. Well, we had
Hard
someone
pivot.
reach out from Super 73 like a couple years ago, and then it was just kind of like bad timing. But I was like, anything like that would be so fun. I feel like we're so close to that kind of culture around here, and I just think we would really understand and like be able to execute something really cool.
Yeah.
So
B
with that,
Audrey has her dream client would be Jason Momoa, which I think
she added to the company dream list.
the third most talked
Yes.
about person in our company work meetings is Jason Momoa,
because B's obsessed.
He's obsessed.
Jason, if you see this, Hoodzpah Design
Jason,
would like
we
a
want
word.
you.
Jason, we know you're watching.
We know you're
one
watching
of the
in the chat.
125 people watching right
Yes.
now. So if you could please contact me.
So with that, how do you balance the projects that you're passionate about and have the inspiration for, right? Like these motorcycle things, and then the projects that come in that are a little more of that corporate, that like take a little more to get into from a creative perspective. Do you have to refill yourselves with creative fun projects, or do you only take creative fun projects? How do you balance that? Because I think a lot of us get bogged down in work that we're like, oh, this is not fun. It's creatively draining. I need to find something to keep me creative. How do you find those clients? How do you balance that? Are you doing stuff on the side that no one's seeing to like refill yourself to then give to clients? How do you balance that?
It was interesting because the other day I was thinking, shouldn't it be getting easier? But that's not what life is like. And someone was asking, does it get easier to work with clients after you get used to it? It never does, honestly. Sometimes it changes a little. Like I was realizing today, we're working with a few startups, and I forgot how hard it is to work with startups because
they don't even know who they are yet.
They don't know who they are either. And
Yeah.
when we first started, everyone we worked with was a startup, because everyone, and not in the traditional like Silicon Valley. I mean, just like literally a neighbor is starting up a restaurant, or, you know,
Yes.
Joe's friend is starting a hair salon, whatever it is. So, but when you work with one person who's doing their dream, it's so hard because everything is so personal. They're using their own money. There's a lot of risk. There's a lot of hopes and dreams riding on it. And I think now we do balance out, like you said, we work with some corporate clients that pay the bills that aren't as glamorous. And then we work with some things that are really exciting, but they don't have a big budget, but we really want to do that kind of work. So it's a balance. But at the end of the day, people still have a lot of risk and a lot of hopes riding on every single project. And that means that there's just going to be a lot to navigate, and it's going to be really hard and tough. And I find the hardest things is the emotions to navigate through. And when you and a client aren't on the same page and they don't feel like you're understanding their vision, it can be so heartbreaking and frustrating. And you're just like, oh, I just want to give them what they need, and they aren't listening to me. They don't, care. But I don't know. It's just, you have to have other wells to, like you said, replenish you. And you have to fall back on just those good habits of like, drawing lines, of talking honestly. I think learning to talk honestly with clients in the moment, not waiting till an email to write them like a 2-page email and then pretending like everything was fine on the video call. I think talk honestly in the moment. If they're like, I just don't like it and I don't know why, it's like, hey, don't worry, we still have 2 rounds for revisions. Calm them down first, talk them off the ledge. And then it's like, walk them through step by step. Like, is it the font? Let's talk about the font. Let's talk about the colors, and just like really trying to isolate, because people don't know how to put words to visuals,
to feelings.
And I think a lot of times they panic and they think it's a lot worse than it is. And it turns out it's like one small thing usually.
Totally.
And if you can fix that one small thing. So I think just don't panic like they are. Try and be the bigger person and try and just like put words to feelings.
Yep.
And I don't know if I answered the question. Did we get
there? Kind of. We ended in a happy place. And so that's the real journey was the friends we made along the way.
I was also going to say, like, I don't think we ever think of any project as like, oh, this is boring. It's just to pay the bills. Like, I still think it's like, you're always trying to find how to make it like exciting, or how to find that little thing that will make it sing. So it's like, even on our production projects where it's like, we've been working with them for ages and it's just kind of doing production plug and chug work now. It's like still trying to make that look the best and hit it, the audience hit the goal is still like, you have to make it kind of gamified. You have to think about it kind of like that.
Yes. Yeah. I'm stealing plug and chug because that is such a great way to describe some of the projects that you're like, all right, it's done to my brain. Yes. I just have to sit down and hit the keyboard until it's
100%.
Done. Like,
yeah. It's like, put a good podcast on and like, just get rolling.
And honestly, if you can get one retainer client that their work back and forth and it's boring, good, get it. You need boring work. You cannot do creative work 24/7. It's impossible.
I hate that we're calling it boring. It's not boring.
Yeah, but I mean, there's
it's tedious. It is tedious. Like, it's not the most fun all of the time.
Right.
Okay, so we got about 10 minutes left, and we've had a lot of questions about what does a brand presentation kind of look like? Is there anything that we could take a look at that, like, if you're presenting to the client, or a process for Good Type, or if we have something for Nicoletto's, do we have anything that we could look at of like, what would you show to a client when you're like, hey, here's the thing we've been working on?
For the round one creative?
It's changed so much since
while you're looking through, and you might just jump into one of our
okay, maybe you could just share about the process more, and then I'll see if I can find something on.
Okay, yeah, it's
and
all.
Before you do that, sorry, if you want some presentation bundles, hoodzpahdesign.com/shop, there are some really great resources there to help you with discovery decks, proposal decks, all that fun stuff. So it does exist
all the stuff
over
that
there.
We use. Yeah,
yes,
so it's
all
like
the stuff that they use. So we're going to talk about it, but also you can grab it. Talk about the process. Let's kind of walk through. That's been a big kind of question coming up in both chats. So let's chat.
Yeah. I think with our decks, especially round one creative, it's 100% expectation management, as well as reminding them that like, we know what you want, we know what you need, like these are our parameters. So in your discovery, obviously you went through like all their goals, any constraints that they have, any mood boards, inspirations, their brand traits, like pretty much letting them know, like, I understand who we're designing for, I understand what goals it needs to meet, and like I understand the terms and conditions for success. So that's going to go at the beginning of the proof, the round one creative proof first look, so they remember everything. And then you're going to set their expectations. You're going to say, you're not going to like it. We talked about this. You're going to say, logos are weird. They're supposed to be. If they all looked familiar, like what we all are used to, like everything would be the same and it wouldn't be trademarkable. And you're just going to kind of lower everything so that they're like healthily like, okay, this isn't going to be very good. They're obviously like getting ready to show us some pretty wild stuff. And then you show them creative. And we usually show that any sort of logo proofs will show it black and white first, just the logo. Then we'll start building up context. We'll show it on top of some key use cases. We might apply early color if we're really like feeling good on color, but we'll remind them, hey, we know color is divisive, so no worries. If it is, but are you going through?
Oh yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to share this one, but yeah, this is old, but it does still pace it kind of the way that we do it. So if I go to the front here, this is just like a type proof, for example, for Nicolettos. And right off the bat, we always remind them of like the brand personality or like the key kind of North Star guides that we're trying to hit with each piece, just so that everyone's kind of framed what we're looking for. And they're not thinking about that really cool thing they saw on brand new yesterday. They're thinking about what we're trying to do here specifically to us, and any kind of like brand differentiators that we're trying to like hit on. I'm just repeating here so that they know they heard that we heard them.
And
And
which
then
is
like,
so important. I just want to point that out of like starting a presentation, not being like, hey, here's what we're saying about your brand, of saying, hey, here's what you said about your brand.
yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I listened and I heard you, and everything else you're
Yes.
about to see is within the context of me hearing you.
Oh, and we do that now. I always try to quote my client once. Like I want them to know, like you were smart when you said that, and
Oh, this was interesting too. Dan Mall, he has if you are add him on LinkedIn, he has a newsletter he sends out. He's really smart away, but that way he thinks about things. But he said something he learned early when he started working in a studio was he went into their first round creative review that they were doing with the client, and the creative director was presenting it, and he kept saying, "This is amazing because this, and that. And do you see how this does this?" And he was just pumping the work, like. And Dan was like, "Isn't that awkward? Like, shouldn't we be letting the client kind of experience it more like?" Objectively. And then he realized, no, like if who's going to sell it if you don't? You're
Exactly.
the expert. So I
Yeah.
think learning to, when you present the creative, we always do it live, like over a Zoom call, to really hype it up and talk it up and tell them why it works. Don't just let them use their eyes, but literally say, do you see how this relates back to that?
Yeah.
And do you remember you said this, and that? And yeah.
Like, and on the type pages, like when you're presenting type or color, like any way you can tie it back to them, and how it's easy for them, and kind of sell it to them, because they don't know what they're looking for in type. They need you to kind of tell them. So it's like, I'm telling them I want to use Santa Ana Sands and P22 Macniac, because P22 Macniac has 4 weights. It's really legible. It'll be great for like our body copies. And then, Santa Ana Sands has, 4 weights plus italics, and it actually has 6 weights now, but it's narrow. You're kind of pointing out things for them to look at because they don't know. And then you're kind of showing them mock-ups. Again, this is like very old, so I like look back, I'm like, we do such a better job now, I feel like, of showing it. But you're just trying to show them, like, here's how the fonts work in application, and I'm showing them the applications to their menus, and I'm linking all the fonts for them to check out and kind of look at.
Yep. And I love that as we look through this, there is a lot of why. Like there is a lot of here's why these decisions are being made. Like here's decisions, great, look at them. Here is why we are making those. And I think it's so important to explain that. And we had a question in chat from Katie Swenson. What is your advice on working with directors or executives who are indecisive or unclear about their why? I think that you just kind of said it, that we're translators of like emotions and feelings and the why. How do you get the why out of clients that may not have that yet, or help them find that for themselves?
Yeah. Really quickly, Liasim Beju was wondering, and I'm sorry if I butchered your name, what software you were using for the presentation.
And that was made in InDesign, and then we usually share like a PDF proof.
Yeah. And then we started doing our decks recently in Figma, but InDesign, we do it both of them. So, but yeah, if they don't know their why, it's really important to, at the beginning of any project, to interview, I think, the key stakeholders, but also people at any kind of different levels of the company, especially if it's a larger company. So like with ILM, this is over the top, but it's because it was such a big project and there was a lot riding on it being right. I think the bigger the project, the more the risk, the more you need to do in-depth research. So we interviewed 100 people at the company at different levels to get their feelings on like what describes ILM, how would you explain your culture? What do you think, people should know about you that they don't? And so asking a lot of different questions, and then, synthesizing all the information for the client and saying, hey, did you know that actually you have a lot of different people saying a lot of different things about you? Or, wow, everybody's saying the same thing. And it's these 3 things, it's just, a lot of it is just interpreting what they want by just interviewing them and helping them see the wood for the trees, because they've been looking at it for too long.
Yep. I love that. asking them to kind of pull back and say, hey, let's take a look together. Like, stand
Yeah.
with me on this cliff. Let's assess and see what's going on here. So we have just about a minute left. And chat, I have a special surprise for you. We have freebies for the stream, and that's the fonts that are available on Adobe Live. It's bad on Adobe Fonts. So if you go to fonts.adobe.com/foundries/Hoodzpah, you can see there are 5 available in there. You can use them. They are included in your Creative Cloud membership. Check them out.
And
Play
sync
around
them
with them.
now. Sync them even if you don't think you'll need them, because having them in your little list that you can type in at a moment's swim is like, that's the game changer for me.
Yes. And the thing that always happens for me, as I'm looking for fonts, especially like Beverly and Redondo, is I start using the filters in Illustrator. So you can filter by a script, you can filter into different weights, and it always ends up that it's like, it's the Hoodzpah fonts that are at the bottom of that filter. That's like, cool, that is exactly what I want with all of my parameters. There it is.
Love that. Love that.
So chat, you can go sync those. Thanks so much for joining us today. We got about 30 seconds left. So I am going to ask you the closing question I always do. What advice do you have people who are for people that are going out, getting creative, maybe starting in freelance? What advice do you have that they can do maybe this week, practice, or anything that they can stay creative with?
Okay, I would say do just like 1 to 5 cold emails. Just try it. Just see what happens.
You went from 1 to 5.
I know. Well, because you want to do 5 because like Jen said, there's a 20% likelihood that one person will say yes out of 5. So it's like just
They
give it a
work.
go.
They do work. They
work.
My piece of advice would be learn to ask good questions. That's the way to save any conversation and to build trust immediately, is ask a good question and get the other person talking.
So thanks so much for joining us today. If you want more of these, we have a ton of them on Adobe Live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. We have spotlights with awesome creatives like Amy and Jen from Hoodzpah Design. So tune in next week. There's more great content, and stick around. There's more coming up on Adobe Live for the rest of the day. I will see you tomorrow for Adobe Office Hours at 1 p.m. And have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Bye.